Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast, the 5th anniversary season. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of JakesTake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, and also please leave a comment below if you love the episode. And also, if you're listening to this on any of our audio platforms, download this episode and other episodes, and please give a 5-star rating and a review. I really appreciate it. I'm very honored and privileged to welcome somebody from my past who I met at the very beginning of my journalism career back in 2010 when he was a traffic reporter on Fox 4 News. He is officially known as the professional TV news utility player, and currently you can see him on KCTV5 News, CBS. It's an honor to welcome Bill Hurrelbrink to the podcast.
Woo! Thank you, man. I didn't know this is the 5th anniversary season, so that makes it even more that special.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it. I never thought in a million years when I was just an intern back at Fox 4 and you were working in traffic that we would be sitting here 14 years later.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, that was kind of my little tiptoe into TV broadcasting. So I was still brand new at it as well. So hopefully didn't pick up on too many of my habits from back then.
I don't think so. I don't think so. But Bill, I want to say thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to talk to me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All righty, Bill, let's get started. So when did you get interested in journalism? How did that passion evolve into desire to pursue a career in the media industry?
So growing up, I always liked watching the news. I grew up here in Kansas City, so we always watched. I remember watching, Phil and Cynthia on WDAF, Larry Moore over on KNBC, and Wendell and Ann on KCTV. And those, I mean, I just watched them and I idolized those people because they knew everything that was going on in the city and they presented it to the city every single night. And as a kid who grew up watching that, I kind of wanted to be it. Now, I never thought I'd have the chance to do it. Music was more of my inclination. Growing up, I was really pushed that way to have a music career or maybe a music teaching career. And in college, I had the chance to get on the student radio station because of my music. I was a jazz player for K-State, and they just so happened to want to put on a jazz program on the radio, and they reached out to me. And then that ended up being my first foray into broadcasting via radio, which was the Sunday morning jazz show, where we just played jazz music for 3 hours on the student radio station on Sunday mornings. And then the whole broadcasting bug kind of really bit there, saying like, well, maybe we can do something. And went through some radio, and then, like I said, stumbled into TV in Kansas City, and lo and behold, 12, what? Well, yeah, 15 years later, here we are now as the anchor of a morning news program in Kansas City. Honestly, it still blows my mind that I get to wake up and go do this in the morning.
I'm so proud of you, Bill. It's amazing to see you. I used to watch you when we were back at Fox 4 in the morning, and with Nick you were Nick's second in command when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
traffic. So I learned a lot from you, and I also agree the golden age of Kansas City broadcasting with Wendell and Ann Peterson and Larry Moore and Kelly Yuckerman and Marina Antonia
Oh yeah.
as well. So and also Elizabeth Alex, but it was also not just them, but seeing
Mm-hmm.
Katie Couric on to the Today Show, and also seeing Ann Curry, and also seeing Barbara Walters and Regis Philbin work their magic as well. So that's how inspired me for that.
And we just actually got to see Ann Peterson here a week and a half ago. We had a little internal celebration of the 70th anniversary of KCTV5 in Kansas City, and she was able to come back. And she also was just recently inducted into, I believe it's the Missouri Broadcast Association Hall of Fame. So yeah, just again, I feel like I stand on the shoulders of giants. Brad Stevens actually used that exact same quote when talking about Wendell and Ann, because he was in the hardware store the other day, and somebody came up to him and just said, "Hey, Wendell," because that's what those people meant to their viewers, and to have that kind of legacy before you and to follow that, it's daunting but also inspiring as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It brings there's so many stories I could reminisce about it. But however, we're not here to talk about all these amazing Kansas City broadcasting legends. We're here to talk about you, Bill.
Okay. Fire
So
away.
who all right, so who are your journalism heroes and how did they influence your reporting style and anchor style?
So I would say influential for me goes back to like Phil Witt. Just the way that he carried himself. A lot of it originates there. Mark Alford. I mean, a lot of how he would interject to try to weave stories together a lot. So a lot of him is there as well. I feel like I pick a little bit up from every journalist that I've worked with before or that I've listened to. Um, I picked up a lot from. Truthfully, I used to listen to Johnny Dare a lot growing up in high school on the radio in 98.9 The Rock, and he was one of the ones that really kind of pushed me towards this because of the way he could affect people just by talking. And I was like, that's a big power to have and a big responsibility. And he would use a lot of that for good, whether it was raising money for different charities, but also he just seemed to relate to people. And I was like, man, how could I talk and relate to people like Johnny Dare? And that kind of like spurred my career. And then, once I got into radio, working with guys in Manhattan, Kansas, started there and moving to Topeka and then moving to Kansas City, just market size and a lot of the different people that I've met along the way. I seem to try to, well, I really like the way they did that, so I'm going to pull that from them. I really like the way they did that. I'm going to pull that from them. So even like as recent as Joe Chiodo, he was our morning anchor before I got hired. I really like the way that he presented a lot of the stories, the tone he used. So sometimes I try to emulate him when I think about how I'm going to present a story, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And in all honesty, the most important newscasts are those morning and those evening newscasts because the thing is, they start and end the day.
Sure. Yeah, and I think our morning newscasts are still going to be important moving forward. I know the genre, the medium is changing, and but I think that despite how many options there are, there's always going to be a place for local morning television. We're a place that people know that they can tune in every single day and get dependable coverage of the stories that are important to them and stuff that's going to affect their day. And I mean, that's one of our some of our pillars at KCTV5 is how we can put those stories in front of people to help them shape their day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've also noticed all throughout the years that as the great talk show hosts have left the stage, like Ellen or Wendy Williams
Mm-hmm.
Oprah and Regis Philbin, there's definitely holes. And I think that instead of having, like, yes, you could have a Kelly Clarkson and Jay Haddon and Drew Barrymore. However, I think more importantly for like cities like Kansas City, it's more important to have more to learn more about your community, what's going on in our community. And you can, of course, have people like the Kelly and Ryans and the Views also do national stuff.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of stories here in Kansas City. It's just, do you have the resources to go digging and find them all? I mean, there are a lot of great people and a lot of great stories out here. We just have to find them sometimes, and sometimes that's hard because of, sometimes I don't know if stations are staffed as much as they used to be. I think we got a great staff at Channel 5, and I think we tell great community stories every single day. Are we missing them? Some? Sure. I think we probably are, but you know what? There's just a lot of great stories still to tell in Kansas City, and I wouldn't be surprised if down the road you see more local shows coming to the air, again that highlight that talent that's here in Kansas City.
Absolutely, 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 Bill. So I did some research and did some digging. So
Okay.
throughout your career, you've had your traffic reporter, lifestyle show host and reporter, election reporter,
Yep.
consumer reporter, home
hmm
improvement reporter, and
Yep.
finally co-anchor. So how important is it to be versatile in not in the broadcast media industry?
I will say you missed weather forecaster because I went back to school
Oh,
here at Penn State for that degree.
Okay, I am so
But
sorry. I am so sorry.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I really think it benefits me to where I'm at, and also I think what helps my TV career is starting out in radio, because I mean obviously TV is a visual medium, and in radio you have to communicate with only your words and your inflection, and I think that really helps younger journalists, be able to talk first and then worry about everything else second. But to be versatile, to be willing to take on things that maybe you're not comfortable with doing at first, I think is imperative to a broadcast career and makes you invaluable. Because I mean, right now at Channel 5, the only thing that I think I haven't done is maybe a sports report, which I'm up for it, guys. If you want to throw me down on the sidelines at the Chiefs game, I'll gladly put something together for you. But I think it's hugely important, especially for young kids who are coming up as new journalists, to be not be afraid to try different things and to get out of your comfort zone, because that's exactly what happened to me. And for me, it was more of a not that I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it because I needed to keep a job because it was in a pandemic, right? I mean, I would have been let go with other great journalists who were let go at the time, but instead they opted to keep me on, and I wasn't doing traffic anymore. So now it was shifting over to that consumer stuff and to learning how to forecast the weather so I could be a broadcast meteorologist, and yeah, just going from there. So it's scary, but it's important to have those tools in your tool belt too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also one of the best things that I admire about you, Bill, is that you're able to cover a lot of incredible news stories in our community. So if you had the opportunity, what are some of the most memorable stories that you have covered throughout your career and why they stand out?
Whew. I mean, I think obviously you can't go too far without talking about the Chiefs' recent success. And they, I'll tell you a quick story. Last it was about 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. Actually, it was before the AFC Championship game, before the Ravens, before the Chiefs played the Ravens in Baltimore last year, or I guess that was earlier this year. Anyway, the news director called me in his office, and he's like, "What are you doing for the Super Bowl?" Oh, it's like, "Yeah, I can come in on a Sunday. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to come and anchor the news. We'll have a great time leading up to the game." And he's like, "No, do you want to go?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" So they wanted to send me to the Super Bowl. So to be able to go cover the team that I grew up watching in the Super Bowl and then see him win back-to-back Super Bowls was amazing. And if everybody's like, "Oh, that's so cool, you get to go do that," but also I'd like to say it's a lot of work too. We landed in Vegas on a Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And then I checked into the hotel, and we immediately went out to shoot our first story so we could turn it for the next day, because we are broadcasting live on the Strip at 4:30 in the morning Central Time. Which, do you know what time that is in Las Vegas?
That is, believe me, that is 2:30.
2:30 in the morning, which means you have to get up at about 1 o'clock in the morning to get all ready for it and get down on the Strip and find the place where you're going to go live. So like it's going and going and going, and then you have to go find your next story and turn that for the next day, and then you have another shoot here, you're turning for the next day. So I think I may be one of the only people that went to Las Vegas and lost weight
Oh, wow.
because I
So,
wasn't eating and I was walking everywhere.
which is also perfect. So I would love to talk to you about that because as you and I both know, and especially with media, we have to have permission to film at certain spots before secure or otherwise we get security. So how hard was it to make sure that you were able to secure something, or B, not be able to have the same spot as the Fox and Candy C9 and
Yeah.
41?
So, like in Vegas, we only got kicked off once, and it was downtown Las Vegas. And I mean, I didn't know. I figured it was a sidewalk, public sidewalk, right? But it's not. Downtown Vegas owns it, so you can't shoot there. So we found that out, so we had to go move somewhere else. But for the rest of the time, I mean, all the media in Vegas was based out of the Luxor, and 41 would be like on the other side of the first day we got there on Thursday, it was raining. Yeah, get it, rain in the desert on the first day we're there. And so like they'd be set up on one side of the overhang, we'd be set up on the other side. So not this share too much about how the sausage is made. Just sometimes you make it work, with the best that you have. So you might be back to back with the competition, but it goes back to, I think we have some of the best journalists in the country here in Kansas City, not just at KCTV5, but also in the other stations locally here as well. I look up to them, and I hope maybe they look up to me too, but I respect what they do, and hopefully they respect what we do. And so you just work it out together, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like the thing is, that's what I admire about the camaraderie in Kansas City, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to the journalism point of view, because you have so many incredible people that we can put our differences aside to make sure that our community gets the story right.
100%. I think that's right. And like I said, I've got great friends that work for all three other local stations here in Kansas City and Telemundo, so I can make that 4 stations, I guess. But to go back on to any of your other big stories, I remember covering. Excuse me. Anytime we get to cover severe weather, and I did that as a meteorologist or as a weather person, with the station a couple times, and I feel like that's a huge important piece that local news provides, is keeping people safe from severe weather, whether that be a tornado or a snowstorm or a severe storm that's going to drop 3 inches of rain on your morning commute. It's important to cover that. The Linwood tornado from a few years ago, we covered that one, and that was also headed right towards our house here in Wyandotte County and lifted up just over by Bonner Park before it got here. And yeah, a lot of those severe weather events were memorable to cover, and but I think the biggest one that stands out in my mind right now is probably just the Chiefs, because you can't. This city is in love with that team right now, and you really can't put anything up against them right now. The story is the Chiefs, especially for today, the day that we're recording this, is their home opener against the Ravens. So hopefully, by the time people see this, we'll be celebrating that Chiefs victory.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm very superstitious when it comes to the team. I even wore the Chiefs supports veterans red shirt. I still have that.
Oh, nice.
I wore that last year, and to every game, and they won. And they won or lost those games. Even though I'm superstitious like that, I only bring out the Patrick Mahomes jersey when it's a Super Bowl game.
Hey, you know what? It's only, what's the saying? It's only silly if it doesn't work or something, And if it works, you got to keep doing it.
And the thing is, growing up, we've had in the late 90s and early 2000s, I remember that the pain that we had of being the laughing stock of the NFL. And now people are like saying, stop the winning. I'm like, excuse me, we've been waiting for years for this to happen. And
you go.
Sorry about that, Bill. So I remember seeing I got chills literally when all the Lombardi trophies were presented in a row.
Yeah, exactly. And what I was going to say, I really feel like our city has been on a renaissance since, to me, it feels like, I think it was 2012 when we had the All-Star game in Kansas City. And there was so much attention there on that. And then it might have been the year prior or the year after, we had the MLS All-Star game here. And then had MLS Cup with Sporting Kansas City winning it all. And then in 14, the Royals make that crazy run in the postseason all the way to the World Series, and they win it all in 15. And then we draft Patrick Mahomes to the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs win it all there in 2020. And then they go back to back here for the last 2 years. It's just crazy what all has happened to the city because of sports since 2012. I feel like this last 12 years has just been incredible for this town because of professional sports.
And also we got to add the KC Current into the mix, especially with being the very first driven female soccer stadium in the country.
CPKC Stadium down on the riverfront, baby. It's that is an incredible place to go see a soccer match. My wife and we were season ticket holders until they moved away. I bought them because I wanted to get first dibs at the new stadium. And then we just couldn't make it happen here for this year. But we've gone down to a couple of matches, and I love that team. I love those players. I love that organization. What they're doing for women's soccer, women's sports in general is just incredible. And I don't want to – I'll tell you, this is my secret. Did you watch any of the women's rugby during the Olympics?
I did not, unfortunately.
I think that might be the next big thing. I'm halfway debating on putting some money on it because if there was ever a time when that U.S. Olympic rugby team came through Kansas City and did like some sort of tour, CPKC Stadium would be a great venue for that, and I bet you they'd sell it out because that Ilana Maher gal, she's huge on social media right now, and she's doing amazing things for the sport. I think that might be the next big thing. So don't quote me on that, but if I'm right, then I'm right.
Absolutely, Bill. And also, speaking of Alana Moore, I heard that she was cast on Dancing with the Stars.
Yes, I did hear that just the other day. I don't watch that show, but my co-anchors do, and they were all about it. And you're telling me who all was on Dancing with the Stars during our news yesterday morning, and I was like, who are all these people?
Same here. Like I couldn't recognize only a couple of names.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so we gotta start continuing our conversation. So, if you had the opportunity to bring on some guests to
Hmm.
the morning show, who would be your dream interview guest and why?
It's a great question. I have several I'd love to interview. Off the top right now, I think I would love to interview, and it's only because I'm reading his book right now, is Patrick Stewart, the guy who played Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek, and then he was also Professor Charles Xavier in the X-Men. Reading his book about his upbringing in Great Britain and how he went through the Royal Shakespeare Theater to come over to the U.S. and tour that there, and then get a call from Gene Roddenberry to come audition. I think it'd be fascinating to interview him after just reading his book. But I mean, I think it'd be interesting to interview a lot of political people as well, whether that be Barack Obama or Donald Trump, President Biden, Kamala Harris, uh, just to ask them questions that would be that like you local Kansas City people would be interested in hearing them answer. I think a lot of the times you get big, broad painted answers from our national politicians because they realize they have to talk to millions of people across the country. But I'd love to hear national politicians talk specifically to people in Kansas City and then the Midwest. um, Outside of that, I've interviewed a lot of people already, Jake, so it's hard to think of one that's like the bucket list of interviews to get. Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce have got to be up there too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely great to have both of them.
And Bobby Witt Jr. too.
Oh, those are some really good names, really good names. So, okay, so we're gonna start winding down our conversation. So, what has the important part of having your career in our hometown of Kansas City mean to you?
Oh, everything. Um, we went out and shot promos here a while back, and I said something to the effect, it's an honor and privilege to bring the news to my hometown every morning, and I sincerely mean it because it's not lost on me what power that chair has. Because like to go back to the beginning of our conversations, I looked up to those people. Like I said, like Wendell and Ann, like Phil and Cynthia and Larry and all those guys that came before me, and I know what power it has, and it's just an incredible privilege to be able to bring the news and hopefully a smile to people's faces every morning when they can tune in or watch, or give them the news that they're going to need to go ahead and start their day, be it the weather forecast, the traffic forecast, the breaking news stories, whatever it is. And that's the important part to me, and it's not lost on me of the importance of having somebody who has grown up in the city like a lot of other people here who are watching the news every single morning. And we have that type of relationship, knowing that they know, oh, this guy gets it because he was born over off of 83rd and Leavenworth Road in Bethany Hospital in downtown KCK, which isn't there anymore, by the way. But I think that's a big important piece of the puzzle, having somebody who's walked in your shoes, so to speak, for at least the point of growing up here, living here, and now working here.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as we wind down, one of the questions I love to ask is: right now, there are kids across colleges across the country
Mm-hmm.
are in the middle of their first semester and are thinking about making the choices, especially journalism students. So, what
Yeah.
advice would you share for them if they're watching?
Yeah, I think what I said earlier is don't be afraid. take those chances. When somebody doesn't want to do an assignment, say, I'll do it. I'll learn how to do this, and then I'm going to do it well. Go after the crazy stuff, and do those hard things, because when you do them, it makes you a better person, and it's going to make you a better journalist too. And I don't think I'm like to be journalist of all. I'm just, honestly, I feel lucky to sit where I sit every single morning. So I just try to be genuine. I try to be myself on air and off air. So like, if you like what you see on TV, that's going to be me just sitting here talking to you too. So if I see you out in the street, say hi, and you're going to see the same person in person that you see on your TV in the morning, and be genuine, if that makes any sense.
100% correct. So last question, are you ready?
Oh, yes, sir.
Where can my audience find you watch you on KCTV5? And also, where can they connect with you on social media?
You can watch me Monday through Friday on local live KCTV5. Our morning news runs from 4:30 to 7 in the morning. I also anchor our cut-ins during CBS mornings up until 9 o'clock. And Carolina Cruz and myself anchor the noon news as well. Carolina is my co-anchor in the morning, and she is wonderful. You should also have her on your podcast too, because she is just a beautiful person through and through. And then go to kctv5.com. You can see me there. And also every Thursday morning, which we didn't do today because I was out at Arrowhead, I host a Bills Weekend Picks, where we highlight some really great fun activities going on through Kansas City for the weekend for either yourself, you, and somebody else, and some family fun activities as well. So you can check me out on the KCTV mobile app and all of our streaming platforms like Facebook, YouTube, etc., stuff like that.
Awesome. So, guys, if you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, you can visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, all Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. And want to find out what's going on, what happened on America's Got Talent, what's going on with this season of The Masked Singer, and see all my interviews, including with all of my fellow Kansas City personalities, including Michael Mackey and Lanita Cook, visit jakes-take.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Bill, thank you so much for being kind.
I love Lanita Cook. She's like one of my favorites. She's a KCK person as well, and a Sumner grad. We both went to the same high school. I love her. She's great.
I did not know that. Shout out to you. All righty,
shout out Lanita Cook.
All righty, Bill. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me to take the road we've gone on together. So thank you so much for taking time in your schedule to talk with me today.
Yeah, man, it's been fun to watch your journey as well, and I'm glad we could link up after almost 15 years. So it's been a blast.
Absolutely, and guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.